Hi, my name's Glenn Hasselman. I'm just making this video for the users of free accounting software to show you guys how to install the new version of free accounting software. So I've just set up this computer and I've actually installed the old version of free accounting software because I think that a lot of people will start from this point. If you haven't installed the old version, you can just skip this first bit. So first thing we're going to do is uninstall the old version. It'll just be confusing to have two F icons on the desktop. They can actually both be installed at the same time, but there's also really not much point keeping the old one. So to remove it, click on this search thing and go to Add, Remove Programs and search for FAS and click Uninstall. It will prompt you that it's going to completely remove it. It won't actually remove your mybusiness.fas file or your myfasidentity.fid file. However, it's probably a good time to do a backup when you are doing something like a software upgrade, and you should do regular backups anyway. Okay, another piece of software that we installed when installing the old version was Java 8. The new version uses Java version 11, and it also bundles Java with the download, so you don't need to do a separate install. So if you're only using Java 8 for free accounting software, you don't need that anymore. You can find it by, I've just searched for JRE here, which stands for Java Runtime Environment, and then you can just click the uninstall. Okay, once you've done that, the next step is to go to our website, and the website is called www.freeaccountingsoftware.com.au. On the left hand side there is a link. It says desktop software download now, so click that link, and on this page there's the video of how to install it, which is what I'm currently recording now. This is the old video, and there is a link here to download the Windows installer. Click here, so click that link. You can actually just click the run button. We used to have to click save and then run it from the downloaded location, but I've now signed the executable file, so you can actually just click run. It does actually pop up a warning, which I'll show you in a moment. So it says there's a warning, but you can click more info and then you get an option to click run anyway. So just stepping through the install process. Okay, and that's finished. So there's an icon on your desktop for the new FAS 3 desktop. So that's all there is actually to installing the software, and we'll just double click on it to start it up. It's a version check. So it does a version check when it starts up the software, and will let you know if there is a later version. If there is a later version, to upgrade, you just repeat this download and install process. Okay, I'll want to show you a few other things to get you started with the software, and also for the existing users. There's been a few changes. First thing about this user interface is there's these title panes, and they have a title and then a section that relates to that title. And if I scroll down, there's the next one, and then one after that. It's put them all in one column, and that is because I've got the screen, the video resolution shrunk down a bit, and I've shrunk it to a point, I hope, where you can sort of fit it on one side of your screen and sort of play along and using the software on the other side of the screen, and that's why I record these videos in this size. If I just shrink the font by pressing Control and minus, it'll look more like this when you use it on a sort of proper size screen, where you have the title panes arranged in 2 columns. If your screen is wider, you might get 3 or 4 columns. Okay, so the software is prompting me to set up an FAS identity. If you were using the previous software, you will already have this set up. Although I had installed the previous software, I didn't set this FAS identity up, so I'll just set up one now. The first part of this FAS identity is just asking for your name. It's not a trick question like your business name, or if you're using it on behalf of someone else, their name. Using this software, you'll be signing declarations and lodging things with the ATO and sending to your accountant, and people want to know who's signing that declaration, so it's the user in front of the computer's name. Pick a password. Okay, now phone numbers in this software are the first 2 digits in the area code, even if it's a mobile. If it's a mobile, it means 04 in the area code, and the rest of the number in the phone number box. And the reason for that is a lot of the lodgements to the ATO want it that way, so to be consistent, it's requested that way most places. Okay, so there's some tax agent details. If you're not a tax agent, just leave it blank. If you are a tax agent, put that in. And if you are a tax agent, there is a couple extra details like address and so on your FAS identity that you'll want to fill in. When you've done that, click Create FAS Identity. And that's it. So remember your password, because when you start this up, next time it will require your password to unlock your FAS identity. And actually, I suggest as a test to exit the software and restart it and just unlock your FAS identity, just to make sure you're able to do that. Okay, the next step is that the software is prompting me to create a new file for my business, and there's actually there's now 2 options. There's the option to create a file on the desktop. There's also an option to create a cloud file, which is stored on bathoff.com.au. For this demo, I'm just going to create a desktop file. Okay, putting in my ABN. The desktop software runs for a financial year, so you'll create a new file for each financial year. So I'm just putting the financial year dates in. And then save the file. You'll be prompted to choose the location to save the file, and the default name is My Business. So I refer to these files as My Business, your mybusiness.fas file. You might actually, if you have multiple business, put like dash and then the business name. Okay, it's taken me to the My Business Details page, and over here you can actually fill in some extra details, and you should probably do that. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to skip that. Now, just want to show a couple features of this user interface. The thing that's perhaps different from or it is different, but might confuse people a little bit, is this navigation bar. In the previous version of free accounting software, we had a file menu, which is the more traditional kind of menu for a desktop application. Prior to that, on our website, we had this thing, I call it the navigation bar. It's like a website breadcrumbs, and it tells you where you are within the website. I actually found after a couple of years of using this file menu that the navigation bar was actually heaps better. So I've actually brought that into the desktop software now. And the way it works is you have the higher level links at the top, and then you go down to the lower level details. The page here, My Business Details, is the one we're currently on, so it is actually not linked. It's in black lettering. You normally will get used to clicking on your business name to get back to this menu page, and then you can actually so we're on this business page now, and we've still got a link to the My Business Details page, so we can click back to that one and then click back to the menu. We can click down to the My Business Details page is actually linked here under the setup section. We can also go to something like the accounts page as well, and then click into an account and back to the accounts list, and you get the idea about the structure of this navigation bar. It's quite nice because it sort of functions a lot like tabs as well. So click back and forth like that. Another thing I want to show you guys is the this search box here. So for example, if I search for this term, it will filter the table, and then I can more easily find the account I'm looking for in this case. I can also search for that term on this page, and it's highlighting that because that's in this field here. Or I could actually search for something like, see this word classification here, I could search for something like that, and it will highlight that as well. So that's a useful feature. Another thing up here is the there are some options here that are accessible from all the pages, like change password, for instance, my FAS identity. Okay, so another thing I want to show you is that in this new version of free accounting software, there is a you can have all your files stored under a sort of downloads folder. So it's convenient, particularly if you've got several businesses that you're working with, and especially for accountants, I think. Also, if you've got some online files, they'll also be listed. So, and it's sort of accessed through this messaging feature. So I'll click on that now to show you how to send messages. So on this page, you can actually send messages to other users of the software. So other users can set themselves up, and you can send messages to them. So you might send a message to your accountant, say, here's my file, it's ready for you to do the tax. They might send it back and say, excellent, we've prepared the tax, please sign off. And they can actually put in a declaration here, and you can electronically sign that declaration using free accounting software. So over here we have a list of the people who have access to the file, which is this first user is the one I've just set up now. This second user is by default in all files, and it's there so that if you lost your password or something, we could possibly help you retrieve the data from the file. So you can actually delete that access and add somebody else if you have an accountant who's supporting you, and then you can send messages to them. Okay, so I'm just going to send a message to myself, and I'm actually going to just select the first user on this list. If you are just sending a message to yourself and You'll see why you would do that in a moment. Just select yourself and not me so that I don't get too much spam. So anyway, okay, I'm going to set the status of this message to closed. I guess the idea is that the messages also help you manage the work and what needs to be done. Alright, save and sign message. This actually stores the message in this file, and it when it says file sent, it's sending the whole file, so it's all the transactions and everything, not just the message that gets sent. Okay, having sent that file to myself, I can click on my name here, and on this page it lists the files that have been sent to me. It's telling me that there is a new file available for download. So if I click download new files, it lists it there. Now I can double click on this file and I'm working with that file now. So I'm now working on the file that I've downloaded. I'm not working on the file that I saved it as in my file system. So I guess it's important to remember that. And you can just work on the downloaded files and then send them to yourself whenever you have done a significant amount of work, and effectively you're creating a backup of your file when you do that. So once you've set that up, if I just exit the software and restart it, this is how it sort of normally looks when you're working with your file. Just put in your password and your file is there. You might have several businesses that you're working on. Just double click on it, start working with it. Once you've done what you need to do, you might go to the messages page and send a message to your accountant, or if you are an accountant, you might send a message back to the client, and so on. Okay, now there's just one other thing I want to show you about this. Let me just exit and restart the software again. So if I restart the software, you'll see that over here under this button it tells you the location of your FAS identity file. Now sometimes, let's say for instance you're switching computers or you're doing your backup, you'll need to know where that file is. That's the location there. It is actually also in the configuration options. Alright, here is the configuration options. It's blank for the default, so you can actually set it to a different location. If you, for instance, stored your FAS identity on a USB drive, or the other thing over here is the downloads directory. So when I was talking about downloading a file, it goes into that downloads directory. Okay, so let me just show you how to get to that FAS identity file on your computer. So to do that, you go to Windows File Explorer, which is normally accessed by clicking on this folder icon, and then in there on the left hand side, if you scroll down a bit, you'll see there's this local disk C option, and under that there's a folder called users. So you double click on users, then you get an option for your username, so double click on your username, And this is the tricky bit, which is that the next folder, which is called app data, is actually not visible. It's a hidden folder. So it's not visible in this list. You can actually show hidden folders, I think, by I'm not exactly sure. I think you can maybe go customize or properties and view hidden folders. The way I get into it is at the top here you've got a path of where you are. C uses Glenn or your username. I just click into that box, and at the end just type app data. It's appdata and hit enter, and it takes you into that folder. Next one, double click on roaming and then double click on FAS identity. And here is the FAS identity file and the downloads folder. I think it might be useful to when you configure it, to configure your downloads folder to be somewhere else. Could be a network drive that's accessible by several users, or I haven't tried it with a Dropbox or something like that, but I guess it should work. Okay, that's about all I wanted to show you to get started with the software. There's a heap of other videos on specific functions like payroll or BAS lodgement and things like that. So have a look at them, and thanks for watching.